And we are live. My name's JP Berg. This is Dumb the Wiser. Another day in the perpetual psyop known as Canada. Here we are together, trying to make sense of the madness. So I want to pretty much talk about the same thing I talk about every time, which is the managed decline of our once prosperous country. I definitely want to focus in on the bills that this cabinet is endeavoring to pass, the penetrated cabinet. I think it's suspect that the cabinet stuck around. He didn't change them. My personal theory is that Carney knew a lot of them were already compromised. They were already involved in so much corruption that it was advantageous to keep them around in order to do his bidding and pass these globalist bills. But I usually don't do 2 episodes in 1 week, but I'm going to up that now because I'm relatively convinced that Melanie Joly is going to kick me off of the internet. Prime candidate. In all seriousness, too, I laugh about it because levity is a necessity to just cut through the just sheer tyranny that's happening presently. Like, what else are you going to do? You're either going to laugh a little bit or cry. But it's certainly time to get organized. Unfortunately, we can't really organize until people wake up. We're definitely captured by a uniparty. We're looking to each other as the enemy, while the Carney regime and the CPC controlled opposition run roughshod right over our rights. Bill C8 and C9, C2 as well, are representative of the transformation of Canada into something unrecognizable, just a totalitarian shithole, some shade of communo-fascistic society. It's certainly not our way, that's for sure. And furthermore, it's after that passes, we're entirely absent recourse. So like this is the hill. Peacefully always, but this is the hill. This sincerely is. So I'm solo today. We're going to look to the chat. We have Prairie. Prairie's never missed one of my episodes. God bless you, Prairie. Thank you for watching. But yeah, it's it never ceases to amaze how convoluted everything is and how confused everyone is. My big thing is I really am trying to put emphasis on this uniparty. I mean, presently, well, Carney's cabinet, and the way he did it, he utilized his cabinet ministers like I referenced. He had Gary Ondesandre, the communist hamster with those big ass cheeks. He had him pass Bill 2, not pass, sorry. He introduced Bill 2, C2. And then he had Melanie Joly introduce C8. Then he had Sean Fraser introduce C9. Now, Sean Fraser is interesting because he left politics. He got out of there. And then he came back when Carney arrived. I don't know if that was at his own behest, sincerely. It reminds me of The Godfather. It's like as soon as I think I'm out, they pull me back in. I think Sean Fraser got pulled right back into it. And just watching him when he was answering questions from the media, watching him squirming in his skin relative to the slightest bit of scrutiny about the constitutionality of these bills. Because again, it's not hyperbole. I'm known for hyperbole, but this is not. These bills truly represent totalitarianism. It's giving the state the ability to absolutely define hate, and they will. We have a good example to look to Keir Starmer to see how these are going to play out. And essentially, in Starmer's UK, any deviation from the rigid and ruling orthodoxy of this progressive ruling class will be construed as mis, dis, or malinformation. Any criticism of their immigration policies, for instance, that will be construed as hate speech. And that's how they control the discourse, right? And dissent won't be tolerated. Starmer's put over 30,000 citizens in jail for social media posts. That's exactly what this Carney regime is endeavoring to do. But he's having his 3 ministers introduce this legislation. And the biggest thing is, where's our opposition? Where's Pierre Poilievre on this? I've heard Leslie Lynn Lewis address it. I've heard another gentleman, a new MP, address it. But I mean, that's not good enough. Listen, man, if the CPC was real, they would be on every podcast. They would be out in the streets screaming for this. This is the end of free speech in Canada. And again, it's not sensational. Like we're going down a really, really detrimental path. And I'm kind of in awe of it. I truly am. And like I said, it's the worst because in other WEF countries, and that's what we are, there's an oligarchical order that are our political class is implementing their agenda, just like right across the EU, Brazil, all over the world, really, all of the Commonwealth countries. But yeah, it's just wild, man. So what do we got here? I've seen what's going on with Maxime to Prairie. Yeah, Maxime Bernier evidently is being they're trying to charge him with a hate crime for referencing something regarding this reinterpretation of the residential schools as genocide, all these mass graves that were never substantiated. It's crazy, man. It's just like a big struggle session. Everything's a racial struggle session. It's like they want us divided based upon every variable metric. They want the old to blame the young. They want the whites to blame the ethnics. They want the immigrants to blame the people. They want, it's wild by every virtual metric. It's the left right dichotomy is very much being played up too. And it's like I say, I just don't think it's real. I don't think it's real in Canada whatsoever. We're just it's being used as a mechanism to hurt us. So we got about 47 watching live. I will ask everyone now if they could share the stream. It's immensely advantageous as I'm very much deboosted in this algorithm. Seems like all the true independent voices are on X. I mean, if you're up there posting hyper masculine AI images of Pierre Poilievre, you're perpetuating that uniparty dialectic, then you're boosted. Otherwise, you're deboosted. And I definitely feel that Pierre Poilievre has controlled opposition at this point. Sincerely, people, I don't know how you can't see that. It's like I'm frequently arguing with people, and I'll stop for a minute and I'll tell them. I feel like they're projecting their insecurities about him onto me and my position. But I'll tell them, like, deep down, I think you absolutely know that what I'm saying is true. And Pierre Poilievre is just full of feckless rhetoric and not much more. So we got MS8719. I had to look you up for this stream. It did not notify me or come up on my feed. That doesn't surprise me, sincerely. Like, I've been on X for a couple of years now, more than 2 years now. And when I had 3,000 followers, I was getting more action than I do presently with near 30,000 followers. They've got my account marked or targeted for something, but I'm just deboosted. It's yeah, it's definitely discouraging. As long as I'm reaching anyone, I'll continue. The point being is it doesn't really matter. Like if they're able to pass these bills, it's like we're all done. They're going to shut any dissenting viewpoint out. Anything that falls outside the parameters of what they qualify as acceptable discourse will be just shut out of the conversation. It's what it's representative of too. And it's funny because there's all these things with these bills where it's like you can't even mention that the government's doing this to you. Like with C8, Melanie Joly can decide at her own behest with no one looking at this, no legislative process. She can decide that you're a threat and your voice should be silenced. And they could take your cell phone coverage. They could take your internet access. Like that's CCP level tyranny. That's next level. And it's like I said, I really like, they know that this flies in the face of our Constitution, our charter. Not that has any bearing, really. I mean, our charter rights are there. They're not rights, they're state-sanctioned privileges. because if the state deems it reasonable, they can remove our rights from us. So I mean, essentially, that wouldn't even qualify us as citizens. We're definitely closer to subjects in this Westminster parliamentary system. But with all of these bills, it's I was really hoping that when Carney went to see Trump, that Trump was going to mention something regarding it, because JD Vance went over and lectured all the bureaucrats regarding their repression of their citizens and the right to speak. It was a big deal. Elon Musk is speaking up a lot about that too. And it really puts, like for the UK with Elon, it really puts an emphasis on it internationally. And I was really hoping that Trump was going to mention something, but to my utter dismay, did not. And it's just like it just makes you think, like, what's really going on? Like, I obviously, well, it's not obvious to most, so I shouldn't qualify it as obvious. But it seems to me that the big decisions are going on behind the scenes. I don't think for a moment that our political class are the people that make the decisions. I think there's clearly the private banking class above them, the central banking system, Federal Reserve System. And then above them, I think there's powerful families that have rigged the game, immensely so. So I think there's big conversations. I think the negotiations are happening, but I think what we're getting is pretty much a show for the people, not just in Canada and America too. I think it would be naive to think otherwise, personally, but then again, I'm told frequently that I'm a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not. And conspiracy theorists utilized as a pejorative, it's just silly. That came into the to the public lexicon during the Kennedy assassination. When people started questioning the official narrative, they were that term was utilized against them to discredit their voices. So I mean, essentially, we were born into an elaborate psyop, and everything we're seeing is essentially, it's a show to provide us with the illusion of participatory governance. I say these lines frequently, and I know what they sound like. I in fact hear myself, and I am self-aware. I'll tell you, if it helps lend a little credence to me in any capacity, like I didn't always believe this. I was on here 2 years ago supporting Pierre Poilievre. I thought everything was above board and legit. I thought, well, that's not entirely true, but I certainly didn't see the extent of it. The rabbit hole is endless. When I realized that the news media and all of everyone was lying to me, all of these trusted institutions were lying to me, I started to become obsessed with finding out what's truly going on. And I've done a lot of research. I've immersed myself into a lot of this. And I'll tell you now, I'm 2.5 years into like hard research, and I still don't know where the rabbit hole ends. I really don't. Nowhere good, we will presume. So MS8719, how will they lead us all into the digital gulag with internet and cell phones? Well, they'll just cut us off. That's and we're not allowed to then mention that we're cut off. So for instance, if Melanie Joly deems me a threat and cuts my internet access and my cell phone access off, it's then illegal for me to go on someone else's internet and say, like, hey, I've been cut off. So if I disappear, guys, you will know where I am. Well, that's not true, but you'll know why I'm not there. I do apologize with the informal nature of this. I never have a script. I come on here and I plan on interacting with the chat. So when the chat's not super active, I generally just rant, which is what I'll continue to do, riffing into the void. But yeah, it's definitely surreal. Like we're living through an age where our government is endeavoring to transition fundamental things about our country. Um, And the opposition, the official opposition, is literally silent on it. It's like I say, man, Pierre Poilievre's silence certainly speaks louder than his feckless rhetoric, than his scripted bullshit that we all have to hear. Just polished up fake Pierre with a recitation of brand new rhetoric for you. It's all bullshit. It's all kayfabe. Kayfabe is the term from professional wrestling, how they would have to keep the illusion that they were truly adversaries. That's what I say, man. Like we definitely have more in common with each other, even through this hyper polarized moment where the left and the right are just hyper polarized, and it's getting heated. It's potentially going to lead to some violence in many cases, like especially potentially in America. But I still hold firm to my beliefs that we have more in common with each other always. These culture war issues are propped up and put at the forefront so that we all are not just merely distracted by them, but we all fall on either side of them. And then it just perpetuates this constant struggle between the left and the right. And no matter what the people do, we've been defecting from conservatives and liberals and the red and the blue team for decades, for my entire life. But oddly enough, our trajectory never changes or alters. There's no substantive changes that occur. We're just trudging forward towards centralized control. It's really getting scary now because you're watching this occur if you're paying attention, as I've been, and the whole time you're watching it, you're like, okay, man, any day now, the masses, the people are going to like catch on to this, and we're going to see some meaningful resistance. We're going to actually see people, organize and put some pressure on their members of parliament. Because I'll tell you, the leadership of these parties are corrupt to the core. And I get the impression, even with the provincial governments, like with this geopolitical moment, with Trump kind of renegotiating the post-World War II order, it makes me wonder if like the bankers, not just Carney, but his powerful banking friends, if they're not essentially giving pep talks to all the premiers, all the MPs, if they're actually really pressuring them to go along with this agenda. As like I say, Sean Fraser looked like he was squirming in his skin when they were questioning about this hate speech bill. So, I mean, they have conscience. They have a conscience. They might not speak the truth with their lips, but in many cases, their expressions and their body language show how uncomfortable they are. I truly believe they're essentially actors. They're just puppets reciting dialogue, and it's all a performance. So MS8719, any book recommendations or podcasts? Always book recommendations. One book I read that really started to open my eyes to at least our proclivity for falling in these mass formations would be The Psychology of Totalitarianism. That book's by Matthias Desmet. It just totally augmented the way I interpret these things. I realized how susceptible we are en masse to being manipulated, essentially. And I think that the powers that be, they've known how to manipulate us for a long time. I think the right versus left has been played up as a distractionary tool for a very long time. Just look at like 2008, when all that Occupy Wall Street was happening, and it was Rage Against the Machine and the 1%. The zeitgeist was definitely, there was change in the air. And then all of a sudden, all these like very divisive culture war issues were put at the forefront. And then we started all fighting with one another again. And it's like, that's all they have to do ultimately when they want to, if they're seeing unity with people. Oh, well, hey, maybe it's a populist thing and not a right left thing. Maybe we have to look at these institutions of power. Maybe we have to look at the private public partnerships that are occurring and all these monopolies of power. And then they just, there's transgenders in bathrooms and everyone's arguing. It's just like I feel like we're being misdirected and manipulated. In fact, I know that. I sincerely do. But here we are. It's never been more hyperpolarized too. People are truly it's it's like once your tribalism gets so bad that you're seeing people not as people anymore, you're just seeing them as someone from an out group. That's when you've lost the plot, man, because then you could dehumanize them, then you could truly rationalize doing harm to these people because you've categorized them as the enemy essentially, and it's just it's not that black and white. It truly isn't, especially with this government in Canada. I just don't know. I get it. I guess cognitive dissonance. I think a lot of people derive security from the conception that they truly kind of have a comprehension of what's occurring in the world. So to accept some information like, well, Pierre Poilievre is in on it and it's a massive uniparty and they're pushing like a globalist agenda, I could see why that would be disconcerting. I could see why people would be hesitant to accept such a sensational claim. Now, I could see that if we didn't just live through the last 5 years. Like, please excuse my dog. If you can hear him, he's losing his mind. He likes to do that when I'm streaming. Check the chat over here. Yeah, I'm not sure if I get a lot of the chat the way I'm doing it. I'm checking it through my StreamYard account, and it's I get very little, and I get the impression that potentially there's questions coming in that I'm not seeing. I have 100 live viewers presently, though. I will ask again if you could please share this stream. It's it helps a lot. I'm very deboosted. Like I just said, MS8719 just mentioned she couldn't find the stream. She had to physically go to my profile to find it, which doesn't surprise me. I could see the numbers. They have me just utterly buried. But that's all right. That's how they play. Meanwhile, what's boosted or what's seeming to capture the algorithm on here is this just low IQ pablum for the uniparty, right? Like you got your both sides of it too, like your Rachel Gilmore, and then you got your pleb, and you got this fake dichotomy, this dialectic, and this argument, and everyone just is getting captured in this. While we're doing that, while we're being tribalistic and fighting with one another over ultimately inconsequential culture war issues, the powers that be are literally transitioning our economy into some kind of fascistic neoliberal technocracy. That's where we are. And again, I hear myself frequently. Truly believe that. Furthermore, and I've mentioned this recently too, I don't think that I'm paranoid or I'm a conspiratorial individual or I'm a crackpot for thinking that. I think we've passed that point. I think at this stage, if you're paying attention to politics and geopolitics, I think you're utterly naive if you don't think that there's nefarious things afoot. We'll put it that way. But I'll let you guys know too, I have a new podcast with my friends Payman Ascari and Chris Erickson. It's called The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear. Very similar topics to this show: politics, cultural issues, geopolitical issues. That's every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We've been getting a lot of attention on that one. I'm very excited about the project. I enjoy talking to those guys. Similar to this too, there's no scripts, man. There's a rigidity to people that script themselves on here. It's like, why not just write a post? If I was gonna like just recite a script to you guys, I mean, it wouldn't even be worth doing live. Why would I go through the trouble? Put a tie on, man. It's like, I think it's better to see the natural flow of conversations, even when you're having one kind of by yourself, which is what I'm doing. I think there's a live element to it. A cold cucumber reposted the stream. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. Thank you all for tuning in as well. But yeah, that's where we're at in Canada. I mean, the government is running roughshod over us. Bill C-2 apparently was augmented. They took some of the repressive powers they were giving the police to search us without warrants. But I mean, Bill C-2 also gave them the permission to contact tech companies and get all your information and put a tracker on you. Made it illegal for the tech companies to disclose this to you as well, even if you're a paying customer. So when I say they know how unconstitutional and how it just flies in the face of everything it meant to be a Canadian or a Westerner, they truly do. That's why they're squirming in their skins. I really believe that. And like I say, I get I try to make these coherent framings for what I'm seeing. And I'm looking at Sean Fraser fielding questions on C9 and squirming. Same with Melanie Joly regarding C8. That Gary, the communist hamster, the big cheek Sri Lankan gentleman, I mean, he's the worst. He's just stumbling all over himself in these press conferences. I can't believe they haven't made him resign at this point. It's kind of a joke. But then it makes me think like that's kind of part of the demoralization. Like we're all really scared. We're all afraid of what's going on with our government right now. The ecosystem of information dissemination has never been more convoluted. And we're looking to our public servants and we're seeing this, just mumbling fool. He barely speaks English. He's stumbling all over himself. He was caught on tape trashing his gun buyback program. It's another thing they got him doing. This Gary guy, man, they really gave him all the tough jobs. Because I would have to think that some of these people would be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Just like some of the police unions and RCMP unions are saying, no, we're not doing your gun buyback stuff. That goes against our constitution, and we're not going to do it. Bravo to them. That's why they went to Cape Breton to Sydney for this, because the police chief, Mr. Walsh, he's related to Kellaway, the Liberal MP. So, I mean, the nepotism is very much in this. It's so corrupt anyway, man. Like, look at the plethora of scandals from the Trudeau years. And none of them, they just investigate themselves, move on. We all forget about it. The news cycle changes. It's like this season of Canada, they changed some faces. They brought Carney in, Trudeau and Yegmeet are gone. And the drama continues. I don't know how you guys can't see that that's exactly what it is. A performative charade to provide us with the illusion of participatory governance. That's what we're living in. It's fake. Oh, we got the Buck You Will. Thanks, brother. Just popping in between calls to say hi. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. Gary is a clown. They march out when the circus is in trouble. He's the perfect stooge to rile up the people. Absolutely, man. And so much of it is based upon that premise. It's just to get a reaction from us. In psychological warfare, frequently your reaction is your enemy's true action. Think chess too. You're being like literally manipulated or gaslit into division in this instance. But I look at all these guys, man, like none of them, like Sean Fraser, sure, he was a lawyer. I think he was an environmental lawyer. He doesn't come off as a very intelligent person. And they could find people that are better spoken. They could find people that are better actors. But they got these just, And again, I think of a Michael Malice quote. The enemy class is not composed of impressive people. And that is an understatement in Canada. But there's something to that, right? The demoralization factor, the whole aspect of late stage ideological subversion where you just accept it. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at today. I was, though, I have to mention it again. I was very much hoping that Trump would have put some pressure on him in some way. And I have a lot of friends that that'll tell me they've lost all faith in Trump. Trump is controlled too. And I'm not naive enough to think that there's not people above Trump. I really, truly believe there is. But I'm not ready to just entirely give up hope on that. I'm really not. I think there's definitely negotiations going on that we're just not privy to. Do I like that? No, I think it's repugnant, but I also think that's the way the Western world has been working for a very long time. You look into the history of it. Someone asked for a book recommendation earlier. I mentioned The Psychology of Totalitarianism. It's just always my first go-to because it profoundly made me aware of how susceptible the people are en masse to being manipulated. But what I'm reading presently, it's my second time through. It's any book that's relevant, I read twice right away. It's just me, I'm weird. But it's called Tragedy and Hope 101, and it's by Plummer, and it's a summation of a famous book written by Carol Quigley, who studied secret societies in the Anglo-American Alliance, the Crown Corporation, all of the banking institutions, any power institutions. And when I said earlier how the rabbit hole is endless, like this will kind of give you an idea of it. But I think the game has been rigged. What we thought of as the free world, we were just being immensely propagandized. Propagandized is not a big enough word. We've been ideologically subverted in the West. They utilize the school curriculums and just the cultural mechanisms, Hollywood, the sitcoms, television, all of that is relevant. We could see it now. Look at Netflix. Like, you're not watching programs, you're being programmed. You're being programmed to accept very, very fallacious framings for everything. I frequently reference, just because it's so immediately understandable, is the situational comedy. The situational comedy formula is generally, now think of this too, pre-1960, it was like father knows best. Even in the early 60s, it was like, your traditional family where the dad was kind of, the dad still. But then in the late 60s and early 70s, you really started to see this model where it's the buffoonish male, the woman that like saves the day, and then everything was framed in that. And it sounds so subtle, but you think of everything like even animated series like The Family Guy and The Simpsons. That's always it. It's perpetuating a framing. And I mean, it sounds like I'm stretching, but what that represents is the emasculation of Western man. It's emasculating. It's attacking the family as well. It really is. And it's also abundantly clear now. It's like the illusion is being broken for so many of us. We're able to see past the facade, so to speak. But yeah, man, we've been immensely ideologically subverted in the West. And the Marxian framings, especially too, with all this, I call it neo-Marxism, this diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have to understand some things about Marxism. And there's one thing they utilize, it's called conceptual polysemy. Now, you take a word like diversity. Diversity, how could diversity be bad? Diversity sounds like it means, everyone's welcome. It's inclusive. That's another one of their words. But when it's utilized by these neo-progressives, these neoliberal Marxian types, what they mean is not diversity as in everyone's welcome. They mean absence of the perceived racial hegemon. So they mean literally, when they say diversity, they mean absence white people. And then you're starting to, what that does, the result of that in broader society is it reduces individuals. It reduces you as an individual into your immutable characteristic, like your skin color, your racial profile. And then you're categorized within this convoluted system of intersectionality. It's absolutely ludicrous. And we've not just accepted this in society, we're teaching it to our children as truth. It's nuts. Just like the trans stuff, that's just as absolutely ludicrous. The whole concept of gender, sex being redefined as gender being an abstract and being malleable and fluid, and you can interpret it to mean essentially anything. Like, that's predicated on like social constructivism or postmodernist philosophical frameworks. Just when you read it, when you actually look into some of the places it came from, like Foucault and some of these other postmodernist thinkers, it's just trash. It's just bad philosophy. It really is. But again, it's like, but why are we teaching it to our children? It's nuts. And they're teaching it to our children to subvert them. The whole education model in the West is based on a Prussian military model. They want it people to get used to sitting and reacting to the bells and being well behaved and docile. It was introduced during the Industrial Revolution because I think the ruling class realized a lot of people were going to be workers. But it definitely it has an emasculating quality in and of itself, because the students who do well are the ones that can sit still all day. Young men aren't known for their propensity or proclivity, we'll say, to stay still all day. Men learn differently, and that's why women are outperforming men in the academics. It's just relative to the structure. It's my own theory on it, but so that was a good little ramble. Let's check on this chat now. Got Kirk Reese. Good morning from coastal BC, coast to coast. Good morning, good afternoon from Halifax, from the frigid East Coast, and it is frigid here today for a fall day. It's super cold. So, Prairie, do you know of Jason Christoff? Jason Christoff, on how we're all being mind controlled. I don't personally. I will check him out though, Prairie. I'll put him on my list. But there's a lot of people that have spoke of this. The godfather of propaganda and mass manipulation would be Sigmund Freud's nephew, a famous individual by the name of Edward Bernays. He's he actually figured out, and a lot of his techniques are still utilized in advertising. Product placement came from Bernays. So they wanted to raise cigarette smoking amongst the female demographic back in the day. So this is before like television and stuff. So like one of the big events that had the public's attention was the parade in New York. So they had the debutantes of the time, who were like the embodiment of femininity at that era. These debutantes all pull up their dresses at a certain point of the parade and light up a Marlboro, and smoke in unison for the parade. And overnight, it made smoking feminine, and that they accomplished that objective. That was Bernays' technique, and Bernays is credited with being the godfather of propaganda. Goebbels and some of the fascist and communist regimes we've seen of the 20th century, they utilized Bernays' techniques. But in the West, we didn't realize that we were being manipulated too. And if you're unfamiliar with Yuri Bezmenov, he was a defected KGB agent. He did a famous interview with Griffin in the 80s. I think it was 84, but it could have been 83. But it's on YouTube in its entirety, where he breaks a literal chalkboard out and lays out the process for ideological subversion and what's occurring right now. It's truly eerie or surreal to watch that, because he's telling us exactly what was going to happen. And he did this, 42 years ago. It's pretty phenomenal to see. If we had have just heeded some of these warnings, maybe we would have seen it coming. But we didn't have a chance, man. Everyone's looking for blame. Everyone's looking to blame themselves. It's like we were born into an elaborate and sophisticated psyop where we're conditioned. We're poisoned. Like, look at all the stuff with the Mahas, like what he's illustrating, all the preservatives and chemicals that are in our food supply, like everything, man. The problems with the big pharma companies, like we're being poisoned with the food. When we get sick, we're being poisoned with the medicine. Our minds are being poisoned. They've convinced us all that there is no God, that to even consider that there's a God or meaning in life is crazy. We accept this postmodernist framing for everything. And postmodernism, like at its core, I won't get into the intricacies of the philosophy, but essentially it's moral relativism. Like there's no meta narrative, there's no logos to gauge right and wrong. Right and wrong are constructs. So you have a morally relative society, and that's how can you have a functional society when everyone makes their own truth up? And that's what we're seeing. Like it's non-functioning. It's absolutely ludicrous. It truly is. And that's where Canada is. And it's like, that's when they were saying the whole post-national makes sense. They're looking for like a post-national globalist economic district. But then on top of that, it's postmodernist, devoid of morality and absent the unifying centralized ethic that will make a people You know what I mean? We got all kinds of people in Canada, but the weaponized mass migration has balkanized our electorate. We don't, it's hard for us to find common ground. We have special interest group, powerful voting demographics in different parts of the country. That's why we're seeing these performative politicians dress up in the cultural garb of various ethnic communities. I often think when I see them, when I see Pierre Poilievre with his hair done up in one of those Sikh things, like if I was Sikh, I'd just be like, this dude's fake. Like I would respect someone if I was an immigrant coming into Canada, I would respect a politician more that's like, ah man, I got my own culture. I can accommodate yours and be respectful, but I'm not going to dress up in it. I'm not going to go that far. That would be almost disrespecting your own culture. For me, it would. I mean, I'm Catholic. I have my religious beliefs. I wouldn't adorn the religious customs of another country. I just wouldn't do that. No matter what. No matter what. But we got here Gray Wolf. Hello from Halifax. Hello back from Halifax, sir. That's awesome. What part of Halifax? And if you don't want to tell me, I understand. I'm probably not going to tell you the death threats that I receive for just speaking my mind on here. And again, I got to qualify it, man. A lot of people are paying attention to me now. I have no credentials to reference. I'm an average working class dude. I definitely am well read and well spoken, but I'm just an average working class dude trying to make sense of the madness. My biggest, I guess, inspiration to start doing this podcast was seeing how many disingenuous voices there are in this space. Like I'm starting to, really look into this. What's going on with our country? What's going on politically? And I come on to X and all I see are these just big fucking fake floating heads, man. It's a floating head on a news screen and they're just pushing this divisive bullshit. And we're getting nowhere with it, man. We're just really not. And like I say, I don't see any difference between the pleb and Rachel Gilmore. I just see them as the like kind of the embodiment of the whole either side of this fake struggle. But that's what they want. They want you to come on here and get captured into that stuff. And they want you to just, yeah, it's the dumb libs. It's the dumb libs. No, it's those cons. It's the conservatives. It's like, nah, dude, they're working together. They've been working together for the entirety of our lifetimes. Like Pierre Elliott Trudeau really started chopping this up in the 70s. And same with America in the 60s, 63. I think that's when really like the bankers essentially really started making the calls. You have to mention Woodrow Wilson and the Federal Reserve Act being passed in 1913. They definitely gained a lot of influence there. But like I said, the 20th century was just this class consolidating its power and the people falling asleep. Like pre-COVID, man, like no one was paying attention to this. It's like they overplayed their hand. If they had just chilled and implemented this slower, we wouldn't have caught on to it. But here we are. Yeah, we got to about 43 minutes. I think that's probably pretty good for today. I'll be back Tuesday with my friends Payman Ascari and Chris Erickson for our new project, The Philosopher, the Stoic, and the Teddy Bear. That's 3 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. And that's live as well. And again, it's not scripted. And we interact with the chat throughout. So I hope you guys check that out. And I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. For me, it's a very cathartic process. I get to kind of ramble in and chain smoke into onto the internet, and you guys like to hear it. So I'm glad you do for sure. And I appreciate you guys watching. My name's JP Berg, and this is Dumb the Wiser. Cheers.